Hi there, me again. We've just come to sort out another problem that's occurred, and this time it's with the water pump. We have a pressurised Whale system that's got an onboard pump, and that onboard pump about a year ago started to the pressure started to release off. So it is a pressurised system, and when you open the tap, of course the pressure drops and then the pump turns on. And what was happening is that the tap was off, but every now and then the slight leakage would occur back through the valves and the pump would run brrr, and then sort itself out. And then maybe it increased in its time, maybe once every 10 minutes, went down to about once a minute. And then more recently it's a Whale pump, and surprisingly it actually started to sound like a whale. So we'd get brr, brr, it had this whimpering, a bit like a young puppy. So it's gone, and what I've done is I've ordered a new base to the pump which has got the valves in it. So this is what we've got. It's a new base, and I'll show you the details on the packet so you know exactly what it is that we're doing, and I'll talk you through the process. So this is the replacement pump. It's the AK1318 Whale onboard pump service kit. Replacement head assembly, diaphragm and valves. Comes with sort of instructions and a warranty. Okay, so the first thing to do is to remove the foam off the top of the surge damper. Okay, so before you start, drain the system down by lifting the little yellow lever. Make sure there's no hot water or any water in the tank, and I would recommend disconnecting the power from the pump. Push down on here and it should slide out using one hand. There we go, and there's only one way up for it. So we've now isolated the pump. Okay, so you just push in this plastic collar around the outside, push it towards the pump, the one closest, and then it should just literally slide out. It's as simple as that. You may get a dribble of water, but don't worry about it, it's only small. Now to do this side, because it's all a bit tight here, I'm going to remove the rubber feet from the bottom here. There we go. So there is the pump removed. And I'm just going to bring it up and hold it over the sink so that we can see what we've got. I think for safety I'm going to take each of those, any loose screws out from there. That one's loose, and that one's loose, and the other one has fallen out already. In a little puddle of water that's just dribbling out, which is the last dregs. Okay, so the next thing to do is to take these little rubber feet off. They're just in the way. There's some screws under there, and they're just a bit too difficult to get to, but they're pretty easy to remove. Just slide them diagonally out at 45 degrees to the side, and they should all come out. And my next task is to undo the 4 screws in the corner, which will require a standard posi drive. There's our 4 screws. Here's our plastic base. Okay, so that goes on the bottom with the flat side to the outside, and now we have the base of the pump set here, and now we've just got to separate it. Okay, so it's just, there we go, that's just beginning to rise, and we lift it up and let's have a little look in there. So let's just compare these two, and I think if I remove my cup of tea out of the way, you can see this one is full of all sorts of shards of rubber, lots of little bits of rubber, all loose and manky in there, and that diaphragm doesn't look too bad, but this one's nice and new. It's much stiffer when I push it down, and this is all clean inside. I just want to check that this rotates properly, and it does feel to go round really well. And we've also got this white thing over here which coincides with the valve over there, the one that was going to release it. Okay, so the best way to put it back together again is to align the shafts. So my suggestion is that you turn the center shaft so that the flat is facing the pressure switch. This is the pressure switch. Make sure that this is still present and it's in there, and that there's a slot, and you can check it by pressing and listening, and that's the switch. So the next thing we're going to do is to, on the new fitting, just turn this so that the little slot that we've got there is on the opposite side to the pressure switch. So the pressure switch is there, and you can see there's a little flat inside, and now we can line things up, and we know that the flat is going to fit in with that section. So I'm just going to put that together now, so that should slot on rather, just gently turn, and you should feel it drop down. Okay, there it goes, and then we can just let it fall a bit further and then apply a bit of pressure to line it all up. There we go. So that's all in place. So now we put this back together again by dropping the screws into the slots and making sure it all lines up. Okay, so we just do the screws up now, 4 of them, and I'm going to do them diagonally, moderately tight. Always work diagonally across, and that helps to get the pressure and tension in the right places. Right, I can feel that getting nice and tight now. So back on that, back to number 1, which is now loose, and just go around a couple of times, checking diagonally, working across till it's tight down, and that should be done. Okay, the next thing to do is to return the rubber feet, so we're just going to slide those in at an angle. So that's all 4 of them fitted, and we're ready to reconnect the pump and pop it into place. Let's hope it works. Okay, so I've pushed it back together again. You need 2 hands to do that, so I'm not able to actually record what I was doing, but the key thing is that you push the 2 sides here really hard into each other. Really push hard until they've completely stopped, and there'll be a big clunk, and you won't be able to push it any further, and you feel them bouncing out. But it's really important they're pushed hard. So again, the same down here. See if I can zoom in on that to have a little look. So you see it's pushed in really tight. Same with that one, pushed right in tight. Okay, so before I stick it down, what we're going to do is we're going to reconnect the electrics, and then I can just check that the pump is actually going to run. So now we just take this piece of foam that holds it all together and supports it, and we pop it back on the top, hold it all in place. I've completely reconnected it because, well, I just want to check that it's all going to work in one, rather than doesn't take me long to take it all apart again. So let's see. Okay, so now it's time to start filling it up, so I'm going to close off the system. So now that should run through, and we'll turn on the pump. Let's turn the water on and listen, see if we can hear the pump. There we go, pump works an absolute treat, and there's no leakage. But what I did notice was when I first turned it on, the tap hardly gave any output. So here's something that I think everybody should do on a regular basis. What we've got at the bottom here, now you may need a pair of pliers to come in from underneath, it's got a couple of flats on it, is the aerator from the bottom of the tap. And if we just turn that, we should be able to loosen it off. I'll unscrew it. And now you'll see, mind that washer, that we've got a double filter here. We have got a rubber filter, and then if we pull this out, we have got a metal gauze for parts, and then there is a plastic filter here, and this is totally lime scaled over, and so is this, and hardly any water's been getting through. It's been getting worse and worse. So what I'm going to do is to see, well, the difference if I pop these into descaler. Okay, some descaler here, and we're supposed to do it 1 to 8 in hot water, so that's 1 to 8. I've got some little marks on the bottle. Now I'm going to drop the bits in. So here's the plastic. Doesn't appear to, yes, it's fizzing away nicely. Here is the metal one. I'll drop that. That should go straight to the bottom, and that's fizzing beautifully. Might as well put all the other bits in as well. So there's the collar, and why not the rubber washer too. Okay, so this one's going to go in the bin, but I thought, well, it'd be interesting to see why it's failed. So to take it apart, you just literally drop the screwdriver, crosshead screwdriver, down the centre of the thing and turn it round of this shaft. Keep turning and turning and turning, and eventually it will loosen off. It wasn't over tight. Let's now lift the top off, and there we go. Really quite clear as to why it has failed. So if we have a little look here, these aren't looking too bad, so the individual pump blades are looking okay, but it's this valve here you can see has split, and this is meant to be a one-way valve, and the water's just leaking back through it. So the end has fallen off, and that probably accounts for all of the plastic crud that ended its way into the filter on the tap.